Welcome back to Warcat Combat. This is my Copycat series, and if you checked out my last video, I covered how we can replicate Sagat from Street Fighter's techniques in real life. But I also asked if you guys knew who Sagat was loosely based off of in real life. And this person got it in the comments. Yes, that real person is Sagat Petchyindee. Now, Sagat from Street Fighter and Sagat in real life don't really compare in terms of stature. Sagat from the Street Fighter games was massive and measured over 7 feet tall, whereas the real life Sagat was probably only about 5'5" and fought at 135 pounds in his prime. But where the games probably took inspiration from the real life Sagat was his dominance in Muay Thai and his aggressive style. Sagat is considered one of the greatest Muay Thai fighters of all time. He was a 2-time Lumpinee Stadium champion, and he even ventured and did well in professional boxing, even challenging for the WBC title. The real-life Sagat had this style called Muay Mat, which translated to puncher fighter. He was known for his powerful punches fighting from the inside. He had this forward pressure aggressive style, which is very similar to the Sagat and Street Fighter games. Well, at least how I played it. But in today's video, we're going to cover how to use this punching style of Muay Thai. And we're going to copy that in this Copycat series. Now, before we move on, I please ask you guys to hit subscribe, hit that notification bell, and maybe leave in the comments if there's a fighter or style you'd like me to show you and how we can copy them in real life. So let's get started and learn this puncher style of Muay Thai. So I'm going to cover 3 techniques in relation to Sagat's Muay Mat style of fighting. We're going to cross over from the last video and talk about the uppercut and how we can use that coiling concept that Sagat uses. Then we're going to do the lead hook, the left hook. He had a mean left hook, and we're going to use it in a way that works well for Muay Thai and other combat sports outside of boxing. And finally, we're going to work on elbows. And I'm going to show you how you can apply that in your training. Something that Sagat does, he likes to coil his uppercuts. He likes to coil all his positions, really. And that's how you should be applying most of your power punches anyway. What I mean by coiling is you set yourself up in a position that you can throw it without having to drop your hand too low to get that power, which I mentioned in my last video. But it's more of the positioning that you get. So how he coils his punches, in this case the uppercut, he'll get in a position where he'll drop his weight, and from here he's already positioned to throw that uppercut, or even that same principle for a body shot, for example, from the rear, or even the lead side. So from here, what you want to be able to do is drop down and throw your uppercut from this range. This is perfect if you're in this close range already, and you can coil by dropping your weight. But by dropping my weight without having to drop my hand, I'm already in a position to throw an uppercut. So practice this movement. Try to shift. So shift to the left, shift to the right, boom. So by practicing this shifting, where I drop my weight from one side to the other, I can use that momentum of the shift to land the uppercut with power. Again, that principle works for every punch. So you can do it from across, let's say, and then from here, I'm already coiled for this punch. I'm going to throw it from here. I don't need to reset. My body is already in position after this punch. I'm already coiled up, and I can land my punch from that side. And obviously, it goes the same on the other way, where if I start with my jab or I start with my hook, I'm already coiled in this position to throw the power punch. So with the lead hook, in my case, the left hook, because I'm orthodox, I'm right hand dominant, my lead hook will be my left hand. The reason we're focusing on the lead hook is because this is your closest power punch in your arsenal to your opponent. My power punches will be my hooks and my crosses, uppercuts. But this is my closest one because it's in the lead, it's in front. But you don't get as much power as a rear hook, but the problem with the rear hook is it's a little more telegraphic. There's a more distance to cover, so there's more chances for your opponent to read it and evade or block. How do we throw the lead hook with minimal setup is that same principle we use for the uppercut. Sagat's coiling position that he's in is I'm going to use a shift to allow my left hook to get that momentum without throwing a punch. Because the best way to throw your lead hook is off of your right hand. So I follow through my cross, I'm already in position, kind of like what I mentioned before in the first part, and I can throw my lead hook from here. But let's say we don't want to do that, or we don't always have the opportunity to throw that punch first. What we can do is that same shift. But when I shift, I want to sell it. What I mean by selling is I want to make my opponent think I'm going to throw my right, or make my opponent think I'm going to evade. So I boom, go here, and then I can throw my lead hook from there. If we're working on the bag, I work on that shift. I drop my weight to my left, and then using the momentum, I land my lead hook. So shift, boom. Practice this without any step in. Yes, it's better to close the gap to land the left hook, but try to use your body. Try to use your weight shift to get closer to your opponent rather than a full step. Because again, a full step might risk your opponent seeing it coming. But what you want to do is be able to be in a position where you're already here. So if we adopt Sagat style, he'll be closing in on his opponent. He'll already be shifting. And then from here, once he feels he's ready, he's loaded, boom, he'll land that lead hook. Focus on shifting left to right. And whenever you're ready, after you shift to your left, explode with that left hook. Shift, 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 boom. Get used to that. When you get used to that over time, you will get good at doing it with minimal time between the shift and the throw. So in the beginning, you'll look something like this. Over time, it will be something like that. Very subtle. If I turn it from an angle so you can see better. So in the beginning, here, I sell the shift or sell the slip, throw my hook, then try to do it with less movement. Just like a little feint, even just a head shift would work, and then you can land that lead hook. And finally, the elbows. Now, elbows are a little tricky in the sense that we want to be in close range to throw it. So in the beginning, what I teach my students is working elbows from here, from this close range. If you're working on the bag, we work from here. So from here, I'm going to literally stick to the bag. This is the distance I'll likely be in to land an effective elbow from my opponent, because in Muay Thai, you're going to be clinched. So without clinching, you can do this on the bag. If you have to, stick your head onto your gloves or fists and work from here. From here, we want minimal distance. So we don't want to do this to land an elbow, even though that is more powerful. But at this range, your opponent will feel it and they'll shift and move out of the way. So what you want to do is from here, this hand will stay on the bag. I will just slide across and slice the bag with my elbow. Now, technically, it's more of a forearm strike. I'm using the blade of my forearm to land the shot. So you want to keep your hands relaxed in the gloves. So my fingers are actually open in the gloves, even though you can't really see it. I open up my hands to expose the blade of my forearm a little bit more. Because when I compress it, I might contract a little bit more. It also slows down my shot. It becomes more of a hammer rather than a blade. So you want to cut across, but we're going to try to cut across while maintaining a tactile sense on the bag, meaning I'm going to keep a close touch on the bag at all times. So something will always be touching the bag, and I just throw my elbow from here. So when I do it with my right, it's the same thing. My left hand stays here, boom, I throw it from here. Now, I can be cumbersome with these big gloves, but in Muay Thai, they're using big gloves anyway, so they're usually clinched. So if you're having difficulty and you want to get used to the other way, you can actually grab the bag and throw your elbows from here. Now, they won't really feel powerful in the beginning because at that range, it doesn't need to be powerful. It hurts. It hurts to get hit with that blade of the forearm. The bone here slicing through hurts, guaranteed. So just work getting those elbows in from this close range. And then when you get used to that, you can play with the angles. I can go for an up elbow, almost like jabbing forward with that same shot. But notice I never release the bag. This hand will stay here. And now if I want to shift or switch to the other elbow, I'm sliding this across. I will grab with this hand now here, boom, then I can finish the elbow here. I always maintain close range and always maintain contact with my opponent when I want to throw these close range elbows. Because then if you lose that contact and they move, whoop, you're going to miss. So let's see it from a realistic perspective on a live target, sort of alive. So we have Bobby McTarget over here. Now, this way you get to see it from different angles. So we'll work with the uppercut. You notice that same principle. If I coil, I'll coil. I can use him as a reference. Now I have a realistic target. I can use him as a reference. I can see my target and I want to land in the chin. I'm here. I'm already coiled to throw the uppercut. Again, don't drop that hand too low. Coil with your body. So I'm absorbing all the energy with that shift, and then I use that energy and pop my uppercut. Same thing for that lead hook. I will shift, like I mentioned before, coiling my position to land that left hook. Now, another point with the lead hook, very important, is weight transfer. Notice I also don't do a big pivot with that left hook. You can get away with over pivoting with your foot in boxing because you don't have to worry about any other tools or weapons. But in Muay Thai, MMA, kickboxing, you could receive a leg kick. And if you throw that left hook and they time it well and they counter with a leg kick, you're going to buckle down with that shot. So you want to make sure that your legs are stable. Use minimal pivot with the foot. I know conventionally people say to pivot, but what you really want to do is focus on weight transfer, dropping your weight with the hook. This way, if you do get a leg kick, you can absorb it a little bit, but also your base is stronger. And if you're sitting on your punch, your left hook would land with power. So I will focus on that weight transfer, minimal pivot, and just transfer my weight towards my right to land that left hook. And now with elbows, now you can actually practice clinching. So you can clinch Bobby over here, and I can work that same principle. So I can go for double clinch, two-hand clinch. I'm grabbing the back of his neck or back of his head. And then from here, whenever I'm ready, I throw my elbows, but I always maintain some kind of contact. Something is always clinching him. Boom. I throw my elbow from here. Very minimal distance. Now, even if I do pull away, notice I stay contact with him so I can land my elbow. Now, elbows can be thrown with combination, so I can always set it up. Boom, jab. And instead of a cross, I finish with an elbow. But you have to make sure you're able to close that distance to land that elbow. So you don't want to just go like this and then throw from here. Look, I'm a little too far. So if I'm using my jab to close the distance to land the elbow, I have to hide my footwork with my jab. So I'll use my jab. I use that jab to step in. Boom, I'm here. All right. So whenever you want to throw with power, with stepping in, whether it's your elbow or even your hook, you've got to disguise it with your movement or with something, anything. It could be your punch. You could feint with a punch. That feint gets you closer. Notice I shifted subtly and then I'm close enough to land that hook. I can do the same thing with the uppercut. I throw my jab, but I use that jab to hide that my foot stepped in. Now I got that uppercut from here. And then I could do the same thing with the elbow. So I'll throw maybe the feint hook, but as I throw the hook, I've stepped in closer, and now I have that elbow ready from here. But remember, if you want to adopt that boxer style of Muay Thai, the Muay Mat style, Tiger style, I guess you could call it. So if I'm going to adopt that style, I want to be aggressive. I want to work my inside. It has to be about your movement and how you shift. Make your opponent guess with movement. Work inside shots to work your big power shots, and then you've adopted that stance. So I hope you enjoyed this video where I break down the Muay Mat style of Sagat style of Muay Thai, or at least the key principles that make up that style in terms of punching in Muay Thai. And again, if you haven't yet, I'd appreciate if you subscribe, hit that notification bell, and I can keep making more content like this. And if you have any ideas, any fighters you'd like me to cover, and I can show you how you can copy at least their concepts or tactics, please leave a suggestion in the comments. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. That wasn't good. Don't listen to me. Don't listen to don't do what I just did. Do what I showed you before. Do the coiling one. Don't do the Mortal Kombat uppercut. That's better.